that's the best in weeks. That's a barnstormer, that one is. Oh, God,
Yeah.
not suitable.
Well, Dennis, still alive, I see.
Yes.
Here we are.
Yes.
In
we are.
lockdown happy hour.
Lockdown mode, happy hour. Lockdown happy hour.
Yep.
Good Lord, man, in the new world. The brave new world.
Indeed.
I hear good news coming out of Spain with at least a couple of days of no increases in deaths.
Yes.
Which means the peak may be the apex, which is not a sharp point, but a long blend.
It's a dull.
Depending.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, that's because of the authoritarian lockdown stuff.
Immediate social distancing.
We're not, and it's not even social distance. Like, I mean, there's a little bit of that when you have to go out, but we just...
It's lockdown.
Yeah, this rule of you cannot leave the house unless you absolutely need to.
Yeah.
And so it's been... Let's see, today was one of the days when I got to leave the house. I went shopping. And then later this week, I placed an order for some specialty items. Like, my local grocer often will not have cilantro, or coriander, as the British call it. But I can request it, and then they can, from whoever their supplier is. Yeah.
Right.
And my wife has this special Easter meal plan that her family has always done. That requires cilantro, requires some cod. There's some beans and some spinach and stuff. It's a smorgasbord, a Spanish smorgasbord of.
How do you say that in Spanish? Since it's a Swedish word.
They would probably say
buffet.
It's smorgasbord. I don't know. Yeah.
It's smorgasbord, eh?
No.
Well, it sounds like fun, especially the cilantro. I think we use it here. It's quite flavorful and distinctive.
Yes, I am definitely on the. You know how there's a specific gene that you can have or not that makes cilantro just taste disgusting like soap.
We've talked about that.
And my wife and I are not expressing that gene, so we like cilantro. There's a special cilantro salad that my wife's family makes that I really love. That's good stuff. But yeah, she makes these fried...
So who will be together for this meal?
Just the four of us that are at home.
Oh, well, perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine anything other than that unless you would Zoom in and everybody would cook it. There's that going on where people are notifying each other.
We have been having...
We
have been having like... after a meal coffee together, where we set up a video conference on our phones and we sit around and chat with our family members. But there's no family get together travel stuff. So
yeah, we went to see Nikki's folks at the assisted living home where they're locked down for 3 weeks in their single room for the two of them. And I got a kick out of Gramps because, he's 80, he's pushing 90 years old. He's 86, I think. And here he is. He just moved down from a 2-room suite to a 1-room together. And they're locked down because they had 2 cases.
Are you allowed to go? So, you're allowed to see them?
No. We sit outside.
Yeah.
And they look through the window.
Right.
And we call them. And then we talk. And
sort of like going to a zoo.
Yeah. Watch the seatbelt.
Do not tap on the glass.
Usually Nikki asked him how he's doing, and he says, I'm doing all right, and blah, blah, blah. But, he's doing the best he can. But I changed up the whole scenario because I usually don't go to see him. She goes quite frequently, and I don't. And so I went this time. And so it was me this time who said, how are you doing? And he said, how am I doing? And I said, yeah, how are you doing? He said, to tell you God's honest truth, and you won't like hearing this, I'm really fucked up. And this is really fucked up. And I don't know what you would think I would say that, yeah, I'm having the time of my life, locked down in this single room, but no, and don't make a point of it.
Yes.
And so Nikki kind of laughed a bit and was concerned a bit too. And I just said as pleasantly as I could, what's fucked up? And as soon as I said it, he kind of took it the wrong way and said, yeah, right. So now I'm not allowed to complain. Well, then fine. I'm just fine. And Nikki said, Dad, he's just asking a fair question. And he said, no, I'm just fine. I'm just fine. And then we ended up talking later, but it was a great moment to have me there, I think, to spark that display of realistic enthusiasm. Right, and to get his blood moving a bit. And then we talked pleasantly, but I had to hand it to him for being so concise and informative.
Yeah, because
we're passionate and angry about it.
We're all taught to say, "Oh, everything's fine.
Oh, it's all right,"
and then you go and you might be miserable and you know and cry yourself to sleep or whatever. But this particular thing, it's on the one hand, it's good to talk about how we really feel, but on the other hand, man, it feels like it's like all anyone talks about. Like when we get together and we have a call, it's like, oh, did you see the latest news and blah blah blah. And one of the things I like about what we do here is we sometimes talk about things that aren't, you know, how we're all about to die. But anyway, we are all about to die.
That's where God knows what's screaming by my house. The existential anxiety emboldened, you know, the other night, once again, the repeated story, oft repeated, incessantly, redundantly, helplessly, hopelessly, of watching our idiot president do 2 hours of spewing of utter, unbelievable garbage.
I saw that he was held at a conference.
It's turned into an asshole, and spewing from it is the diarrhea only Trump can produce. All in a giant flow. Hey,
I mean, they don't let him have his...
29 million. I bought 29 million pills. You know what? If it works, what do you got to lose? You're gonna die. You're gonna die. So what are you gonna lose? The spouting of this insane. I'm not a doctor, but I got common sense. And you know full well, and it comes out in the news, that just before the meeting of a press conference he wasn't supposed to have, it wasn't on the schedule. President will not speak today. It's Palm Sunday, 2:00 in the afternoon. It wasn't on the schedule. And then he found out that fucking Biden was having a town hall meeting on COVID-19 and said, the ratings, I need those viewers, the ratings. And he went out, and just before the meeting, he wanted to talk about this fucking pill, this malaria lupus pill, which has got side effects that will fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Right? And Peter Navarro, who's this guy who's an administrator, who suddenly shows himself somebody who can talk good and a psycho-phant, and on Trump time, this president, this gracious man, this wartime president, Trump time. And he's at this meeting, it gets leaked out, and he brings to the meeting and throws down on the table a bunch of studies about this drug.
I heard about how he and Fauci like actually got into you know, they didn't punch each other, but they were getting pretty heated in a way that has never happened before.
And as a result, it's clearly that Trump is caged. He's caged. And when he tries to read his script as he's getting ready for the only reason he's there, which is to answer questions and to beat people up and to show his he thinks his unbelievable sense. The most daunting thing, the most chilling thing that we could see as Americans is what he says, written verbatim, as if it's a doctrine, and try to figure out what in the fuck does it mean. He doesn't finish sentences. He uses pronouns. He weaves it with stuff that's not true. He generates new historical novel type fucking ideas about what happened. And it's this thing that if it was a person we saw in the grocery store, we would call someone and say, take this man away, put him in a straitjacket, and get him the fuck out of here before he hurts somebody. He is that fucking loony.
Yep.
Do we know this? And people are dying, have died.
Yep.
Oh, it was I closed off travel to China. Except for 40,000 from China who got in because it wasn't actually a closed door. It was a restricted door. And those thousands distributed where? New York, New Orleans, San Francisco, fucking Seattle, on and on.
Yep.
Oh, whoops. There was that. Well, I didn't mention that. That's a nasty question. Fuck, man.
Yeah. Like, I just can't even watch him speak anymore. I can.
It's so
I can hear I can hear comedians refer to what he talks about, but I can't watch him speak anymore because it's just so frustrating. The level of stupid.
The people that are listening to it who are telecasting it, who obviously are not Trump supporters any more than you or I are, they just say the president spoke for 2 hours. Much of it was absolutely incomprehensible. It was incoherent. Yeah. And of everything he said, I guess the headline must be that he doesn't care what doctors say, and he's no doctor. But he's got common sense.
I saw something.
And he's got 29 million magic fucking pills.
I saw something the other day where some networks, I mean, MSNBC is the obvious one, but some of them said that if he's talking in a press conference and he starts lying, we are going to shut off the cameras. Which I don't believe him.
I've seen, no, none of them are doing it.
Right.
And particularly MSNBC, who cut away when Trump was done speaking, and someone else came up to speak. And it was interesting because it was the first person we really wanted to hear from, because the name of that person wasn't fucking Trump. As much as I think that Mike Pence is some type of a robotic, semi-automatic mannequin, with Christian persuasion, whatever, he at least says what someone in his position should say.
Right. Except
for the psychophantic under our leadership, which he's saying less, by the way. And if you did a word cloud and looked at that reference to Trump, you would see that diminish from Mike Pence, because he's so busy trying to get some distance from that crazy bullshit the guy is saying. Why the fuck does he even say whether he would wear a mask or not? He doesn't have to divulge that. He should just, why does he get himself in trouble? Okay. And the answer is because his fucking brain is the size of a fucking pea.
Okay, Dennis. What? So you're voting for him in November, right? This is what I'm hearing? This podcast is brought to you by the Trump campaign. Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to be his running mate. Hey, what if I could sneak in? I would shave and stuff, but I would sneak in, because he doesn't have anybody to really pick from, because nobody wants to run with him, I'm sure. So I could sneak in and then turncoat on him.
Do you really think there's a chance that Pence won't be his running mate?
No,
I don't think so.
No.
But
no, there might have been. There might have been at one time, but
I mean, you're not that good of an actor, but with a serious actor could go in and out sycophant everybody.
Well, Navarro does a pretty good job.
Yeah. So.
There are other things going on in the world besides COVID-19 and President Trump's reaction to it. What's that short list again? I'm sorry.
Short list?
Short list. So I wrote a song the other night about COVID-19 and kind of a little Western, almost a ballad about, how much you want to see your girl and please come walk with me, but stay 6 feet away. Da 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 da. Dum dum. Oh, darling, please come see me. Oh, I'm waiting at my door.
Please don't tap on the glass.
Oh, when you see me, oh, please stay 6 feet before. Bum, 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 bum.
I actually have some friends that one of them was in the UK. It's a couple, and they've had this long distance relationship. And one of them was in the UK and flew to Kentucky to see his girl. But they had to, for like 2 weeks, they had to stay 6 feet away from each other. And so they would get together and have these meetings, like as if you're in prison, where you got to stand over here and one other person over there, and the only thing you want is to go and hug and kiss the other person, but you have to stand there. And she baked him a loaf of bread and threw it to him. Just the most, if you were writing a movie about social distancing love story, it would be something like that. Right. And it's just wild that this is the world that we live in now.
Well, we saw our granddaughter, and she
You allowed to
knows
see her
just no, see her at a 10-foot distance.
Okay.
Yeah, and so usually through a glass door, and if not, we're on a deck and they're in the yard.
Right.
But it's distanced well enough and separate enough that she can run around the house, which is all fenced in house, and show us her new shoes, and
Right.
and know that there's these new boundaries that mean we're not going to hug and touch. And she's not, obviously at the age of 3, she's not overt about that knowledge, but she knows it, and she doesn't. And so far, she hasn't.
It's got to be
required
weird.
It, or it is.
It's got to be weird. Like, you're not allowed to touch Grandpa anymore.
But that's not what is said.
Right.
In fact, it's not spoken. It's just that we get together so frequently. She thinks she's on vacation, and Mommy and Daddy are home, and they're on vacation.
Right.
That's what they're calling it.
Right.
And now, and so
God, I'm so glad
she
you don't have to talk.
knows it from observing it and sensing it.
Sure.
It's infrequent, but it's with everyone.
Right.
It's with everyone. And so there's no, my daughter and her friend got together and they met at a football field, and they sat 20 feet apart and yelled to each other, and
It's like
that's
some dystopian movie. Like, if let's get together, but stay so far apart. It's just crazy.
let's live together forever by staying apart right now.
Yes. Let's live together apart.
Let's live together apart. Bow, 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 bow. It's so much better than a fart. Bow, 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 bow. At least it doesn't smell that bad. Bow, 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 bow. Though it makes me rather sad. Bow, da, 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 bow.
Hey, speaking of smelling farts, greatest segue ever.
Great. Wow. Smooth.
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 Yes. They just on the New York Times, they posted an article just now that I saw, where they've graphed by U.S. state where so on the x-axis is how many positive coronavirus cases there are, and on the y-axis it's how many people have Googled for the term loss of smell, and it is a solid. It's a clear correlation that the more cases your state has, the more likely people are Googling loss of smell, because that's one of the symptoms of COVID, is that you lose your sense of taste and smell,
really?
Which is just wild.
Big. And so similar to the thing you spoke about a few episodes ago about temperature taking and the app that's out there that joins all those data together to show you a pattern of temperature increase. Yeah, as a precursor, as another potential a predictor, a lateral collateral,
a leading indicator
pattern. Well, yeah, if that's strong, but yeah.
I read today a tweet thread that started with my husband and I are recovering from coronavirus, and in it this woman talks about how with their super mild cases, like so mild that they did not have to use a ventilator, where they were just at home and miserable, and her husband was coughing so much that he couldn't respond to her saying, "Are you okay?"
Because he just wouldn't stop.
He didn't have the air to speak, and anytime he tried to speak, he would start coughing again. And
oh my word!
The utter
and how old?
I don't know. I'm
40s.
I'm guessing 40s. I didn't do a lot of.
Well, so that's that's representative of this biggest, and I will be the first to suggest that the world and national health organizations are quite clear that data is a river of information. It's not a pond. It's constantly changing. New factors are found, et cetera. And for them to simply say, this is the case, we didn't know this earlier, we know this now, therefore we said this before, we say this now, that's all quite forgivable.
Yes.
That's all quite human and within the realm of expectation.
It's called
from
science.
Yes, that's how science works.
Right.
You learn, you study, you learn, you adapt, you move, and more and more. And the one that is breathtaking is that 43% of the people who are being admitted to ACU are under the age of 65. That doesn't diminish the risk level of those that are above that age, but what it does is limit it within the big view of the
it's not
full
it's
pie.
not just a thing where this isn't a thing where, well, maybe
Somewhat higher risk.
Yeah, maybe Peepops might die, but we're all going to be okay.
Well,
the way it was sold early on.
Yeah. So there's a video that made the net today from Detroit and headlined about absolute not following Whitmer's executive order, and it's a group of young people at a gas station who all have brought their cars and brought their drinking, they're smoking dope, there's loud music going on, and they're just having the time of their life. Those fucking kids are going to go home. And which one of them, half of the people in the video, half of the people in the video are very likely to be asymptomatic carriers of the virus.
Right.
Half of them.
Yep.
And if there's 60 people, then 30 go out and talk to 30, then 60, then 120, and we know the math. But this disregard, it's almost like anti-intellectualism, or it's...
No, in America?
It's true.
Anti-intellectualism in America. That particular thing is a common thing in Spain, and that in Spain the young people will often get together with their cars in a parking lot, and somebody has a bitchin' stereo system in their car, and they crank up the music, and they all bring their, one person brings the ice, and another person brings the cups, and the other person brings the booze, and the other person brings the Coke, and they sit there and mix their drinks as a way to save money. And
where are they?
In public parking lots. It depends, and it's not super well policed, but it's a thing to sort of get a little bit of a. I think the idea is to get a little bit of a buzz before you go out later to the bars and the discotheques and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really common thing in Spain. They call it the botellón, and I used to do this when I was a youth.
What is the word Montellón?
Botellón.
Botellón.
Botella is is a bottle, and botellón is a big bottle.
Botellón. Big bottle. Botellón.
I heard a podcast today. The Radiolab podcast is putting out these little things where they have the reporters go and talk to people and do a little bit of investigating, just over the phone. And they spoke to an oncologist who has been an oncologist for 20-some years. And if anybody knows death and what to do about death, it's oncologists, because they see so many people and they have to tell people, look, you're going to die. They're often the very first people that tell someone, look, you've got 4 months to live or whatever. And she was talking about how scary this particular virus is, in that it's she said there are good deaths and there are bad deaths. A bad death could be, for example, if it's relatively quick for the person dying, like a car crash, for example, is quick for the deceased, but it's painful for everybody else because they didn't really have a chance to say goodbye and mend those wounds and stuff. But for a cancer thing where you're told and you get to get your head in that space of, okay, this is my last month, you get to go and talk to the people that you want to talk to and say what you want to say and get it all out. She said that with COVID, very often your spouse is coughing or something, and you drive them to the hospital, and you park in front of the ER, and they get out of the car and they walk in. You're not allowed to go in, and then you may or may not see them again, because you're not allowed to go in and you can't visit and there's no visitation. And she said, and also it's a very alone kind of death. Like even the doctors can't come in and touch you unless they absolutely have to. So it's just really, really terrible as far as deaths go. And she said, look, if you're taking a loved one to the hospital because you think they might have this, just stop and have 10 minutes in the car before they get out of the car in the parking lot and say all the shit that you need to say to each other, because this might be the last time. And it's just super moving and sad and depressing, but that's where we are. So,
wow.
Happy hour to you. But yes,
and sometimes,
but that really hit me, and I had to share it with my wife once the kids were out of the room. I said, look, this is how this is, because a lot of times people they don't think about that. They're just like, well, okay, you go in there and see what they do, and then they immediately sequester them.
You'll be fine.
Yeah,
you'll be fine.
Yeah, see you next week.
I'll be right here for you.
Right, and
don't worry.
And then sometimes people come out and sometimes they don't, and it's just super scary in that way.
Well, and the thing that is the most hideous reason that I am so insane about Trump is that he's saying these things 7 to 14 days from when we're going to jump from 10,000 deaths to as many as 100.
Yep.
And he doesn't have the brain power to know that this is actually being recorded.
No, but it doesn't. Look, it has never mattered. What Trump said last week has never mattered. Never. In this whole 4 or 5 years since he started with the birtherism, it's just never mattered what he said a week ago, because there's always a new thing that he said today, and no one can focus on. I mean, can you even remember what you're angry about in December about what Trump was saying? We can't.
It would be everything.
Right. So it's never ever happened.
It's the new normal.
Right.
It's the new normal, which means that I've succumbed to his fucking goal, because it's the new normal.
Right. Exactly. Well, we all have, and it's.
I bet you James Carville hasn't. You want to see some interviews? Hey, it's funny. It's funny. Bill Hader does an impersonation on Saturday Night Live on the news, and it's good. It's very good. James Carville was the head of the Bill Clinton campaign from Louisiana, and not only is he an outstanding expert on this, he's married to Mary Maitland, who does the same job for the Republican Party. And you can see these and even post these if you want, but there are these shows that they did disagreeing with each other from Democrat and Republican standpoints, and sitting there as a married couple.
Wow.
But he was the one who, about the time that just before Jim Clyburn in South Carolina did the amazing thing to ignite the Biden campaign. Just before that, Carville was interviewed. You ought to post, where he said, "You know what? All you people are just wasting my time. We don't need a revolution. There's only one thing we need. We need to win the election. Anything else you want to talk about is stupid and wasting our time. Who wins? Joe Biden wins. Bernie, get out." But anyway, back to Bill Hader. He does a impersonation of Carville, who's distinctive looking with his skinny ass bald head. In fact, he was in a movie, and he played, I think, the governor of Louisiana. And he was interviewed as governor, or some dialogue as governor, in a one of those antique railroad cars that are real, turn of the century, remarkably comfortable. He was I think he was a politician he was a governor rather than a railroad baron, but quite striking. But the Bill Hader impersonation of him is worth posting if you can find it. I know you're 2 episodes behind, but.
Hey, I got caught up. I got caught up last night.
I'm doing my job.
Okay.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, you were up late then.
Did you watch the entire Joe Biden video that I sent you 30 minutes before we started?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yes. I actually skipped the last 30 seconds. It was more than I could stomach existentially. Yeah, well, I got the point.
I may or may not have done the same. So I don't know if they all took their clothes off at the end or not. But it's this video that the Biden campaign has put out
or Jill Biden. I mean,
Yeah,
let me check.
It was. Yeah, but okay. Is she part of the Biden campaign?
Yes, but it'd be different saying it came from the Biden campaign. It came from Jill Biden.
I think it came from Jill Biden. But yes, but I think the campaign organizers probably okayed it.
You're giving the campaign more credit than they deserve. You're acting as if they knew Jill was going to do this.
Yeah,
like there's planning going on. There's no planning going on in the Biden camp.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to describe this. It'll be in the show notes at happyhour.fm/055. It's this video. It's probably 4 minutes long. I also skipped around, and it's presumably Biden supporters that are all grouped up. That are all sort of there together on. It's not a stage, but they're all
in a room. It's in a splash room.
Yeah, they're all lined up, and they're doing this thing that would be like the most uncomfortable thing to do in a classroom. Like say you're in 7th grade and it's Joe's birthday, and everyone has to go around and say something that they like about Joe. And they're going around and everyone is like, well, Joe's a swell guy. And the other guy says, well, Joe's going to beat Trump like a drum. And the other guy...
And the camera pans from one person to the next because they know that they're next.
Right. And then one person...
Awkward testimonials.
It's just the worst. And then and they're all sitting there with their hands in their pockets and they're like, well... I think Joe's gonna support and broaden the Affordable Care Act, and then 2 people down, someone says, "Well, I was going to say about the Affordable Care Act. You took my thing. I'm just going to reiterate that." And the other one's like, "I suppose he'll go back to the Paris climate agreements," and it's just the most boring possible, the least enthusiastic.
I got a couple of ideas about this. One is, how about that we do the same setup, right?
Right.
And those people think that this is what we're going to do, and we practice it. But while it's being filmed, we say to them all, how would you respond if I were to tell you that Joe Biden was a tired old man who can barely hold up his own suit?
One of their arguments was, he's old, but I think that's what we need right now. It's like, Jesus Christ.
So here's the thing. So here's the other thought that I had when I took a look at it when you sent it to me. One is that I'll tell you what's true about this video. What's true
is that
those people they really believe what they're saying. What's also true, it's the worst possible way to get them to say it. Now I ask you this: why wouldn't you take that same group of people but cut it down to tables of 5? Put them all at tables of 5. Give them each a refreshment. Give them a little food.
Do a little workshopping. Come up with a sentence.
Get them to talk.
That sounds good.
Get them to start talking and say, now listen.
Take the prettiest one of you.
The cameras aren't on now, but the cameras are going to be on.
Right.
And we're going to turn the cameras on when we start talking serious stuff. But in the meantime, just think a little bit about and talk with your neighbors right now about why you're supporting Biden when so much is going on. We're only going to probably let you talk alone for a couple minutes before we turn the cameras on. Then we're going to ask you some questions. Now, let me tell you this. That if you did that in those 3 sets of tables, because there were 15 people here, started doing discussion and you turned it on and you started filming that, you would see the same fucking messages delivered in such a credible, heartfelt fashion because they were, in fact, just talking about Joe Biden. This is what I ask you.
You're secretly recording them when they're
not secret. No, it's the factor of saying to them, you see there's cameras here. We're going to film it. Don't worry about it. You're going to eat.
Right.
You're going to talk.
We're going to cut it together, and when you say something stupid, we're going to cut that out. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know that I would say any of that.
You don't say that. You do that. Yeah. But it's like when I edit this podcast down from our 7 hours of recording, it's how whenever there's at the conventions, at the Republican convention, at the Democratic convention, they send people out and somebody with a microphone and a camera, and they say, and they ask people, why do you support this candidate? And then they cut it down so it's only the doofuses that appear on the actual cut. Pop that. That was just weak as Joe Biden. It's
oh, Joe, Uncle Joe.
But like you can go because people will go to rallies, and I would go to a political rally, and if someone came to me with a camera and a microphone and said, "Articulate for me exactly why you support this candidate," I would look like an idiot because we all would. We would, and very few of us clearly have our ideas in line where we could say, well, these 7 points.
I'm going to push back on that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for an instant.
You don't believe that I would
not
go
about
to
you,
a
sir.
thing, or that I would
not about me. You wouldn't look like an idiot because you do, in fact, have an opinion, and that opinion is often expressed and at the forefront of your mind, and you wouldn't be flabbergasted any more in that question than if I were to ask you right now. And neither would I, and neither would a lot of people, because we're fucking thinking about it. We are ready to talk about it. But anyway.
But I'm not ready to. If you ask me right now, why am I going to vote for Joe Biden?
No, I wouldn't ask you that. Let me ask you this, though. Let me really ask you. Why would you? Why would you vote for Joe Biden? That's the question to ask. Not why will you, but why would you?
If he were the nominee, because he's more of a competent human than the opposition. Like, at this point, I used to say I would vote for any functioning adult, but with Biden, I got to say with any sort of semi-functioning adult would be better than Trump. And Biden has a brain behind all his bizarre aphorisms.
This is
he
how
would
I
surround
would
himself with experts.
There you go.
Okay.
Why would you vote for Joe Biden? Because I think Joe Biden is capable of putting together the smartest and the brightest people to run this country.
Yes.
With him at the helm, with his experience and his knowledge and his absolute caring about the American people to guide the efforts from a vision-driven,
empathy.
Principled perspective.
Yes, empathy.
What
we've all seen Joe Biden cry.
You can talk if you think that it's denigrating to call Joe Uncle Joe. Don't feel that way. That's how I feel about him. I would much rather entrust this to Uncle Joe, because what I know about him, he can put together a hell of a team, and he will not fail in this effort. And now that he's finally president of the United States, 3 times a charm, Uncle Joe.
And he has, like I just said, he has what we call empathy, where he cares about the suffering of other people. In a way that 99% of humans do that aren't psychopaths.
But unlike a lot of humans, he's able to actually demonstrate that when the cameras are rolling. You needn't go back any further than the town hall meeting that I had in South Carolina the night before the big vote, and he was introduced to the minister whose wife died in the shooting. And to listen to him and to watch him in his solemn and passionate connection with this voter and with the population at large, you just have to wonder, Eric, why the fuck would these idiots that are running his campaign think that they should do anything other than putting Joe Biden at the table with a couple of other people to talk about the issues of the day and let Joe Biden be Joe Biden and talk with these people? You can imagine 3 or 4 people sitting at a table with Joe Biden. You name them. Yeah. One table at all video conference, but right? And Joe Biden participating in that and not be expected to be fucking tested on shit that doesn't matter, like a particular fucking date or a thing. We're not wanting to see, and the voters don't need to see, Joe Biden, the historian and the absolute fucking dictionary of history.
Right.
We're voting for him because we know he cares about us.
Yes, exactly. Where he really shines is in his humanity. And to be honest, I think he might have more empathy than a president should have. All depends. All depends. Well, there's a I don't know, philosopher professor type named Paul Bloom, who has written some books about empathy and why empathy is that we need to distinguish between empathy and compassion. Empathy is where you can feel the other person's suffering and you feel it, like it hurts you, and can sometimes, like, too much empathy can be crippling because you're weeping for the other person's bad fortune. Whereas compassion is I see where you are and I'm going to help you in a way. But and I think Joe has a little too much of like, if you set him down, like you said, with and you filmed him with 3 other people, and the 3 other people told him about their hardships in life. That you pick them from the states that mattered where the voting happens, and they told him, look, I lost my job, this happened, my brother got run over by a tractor, and
Right.
Joe would be like, Joe would be there weeping with them in a way that
so
would sell
imagine
him.
this. Imagine these talking tables, okay? In one group are people exactly as you described, people affected. In another group are respected administrative, executive, quasi-actual politicians. Rahm Emanuel, mayor of Chicago, advisor, chief of staff to President Obama, right? Paul Gergen, right? Top advisor to Ronald Reagan, right? Bring these people to sit with Joe Biden and just have a conversation.
Yes.
Different types. That's all we need now. Instead, you got fucking Biden stiff as a board.
Yeah.
What was the phrase I used in the email to you today? Did you see it? Because I wrote it down for you because I knew I couldn't remember it when I was into my multiple Alaska Ambers.
You said, why this and his other stiff stuff is suffocating and suffering from the Sisyphus syndrome.
There you go. So for Joe Biden.
Shall I say that again?
For Joe Biden, Sisyphus, at the bottom of the mountain, pushing the stone up, and it gets to near the top, and then it rolls down, and he starts again. Joe Biden, the ever-suffering blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Wrong approach. Stiff stuff. Joe Biden reading off a monitor, acting as if he's a historian.
Yeah, humanity is the keyword.
In his basement with no audience other than cameramen. Nobody to respond to. Nobody, in fact, to care about. A wooden Indian, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? The video I have in mind, he starts to stumble from the teleprompter and not knowing that his left arm, or his right arm to our left, is in the range of the camera. He thinks it's outside the camera and is indicating in a rolling motion to move the monitor along.
Yeah.
Joe, who did you hire? The two fucking guys who run the fucking movie store down the street?
It's very like it's very cable access, like Wayne's World. In your basement.
It's astounding. Have you seen the Tonight Show? Stephen Colbert and him filming from home. It's a good example. It's a good example. He's got two camera angles. He's got the room established with a big screen with the name of the show on the back.
Right.
The coloring is great. It's professionally established, right? And you wonder if Colbert can do this, why the fuck can't Joe Biden? Is he that stupid? Is he stupid? Is it stupid like ignorant? Like he doesn't have any millennials around? Eric, does it have anybody like you around? Does it have anybody like me around? I don't understand. How the fuck can we as
millennials
stupid
like
asses? You and me. Well, no, you're the millennial, and I'm the sage-like fucking interpreter of the fucking culture that's out there, the way that we want to know about Joe Biden.
And God bless you for that. Yes, God
bless America.
I've watched a little bit of Seth Meyers at his home. He's been doing some stuff, and John Oliver is also in a white room somewhere.
Quite good,
which is good.
Quite good.
I wanted to mention a thing to you that you may not have heard of. Do you know who John Krasinski is?
Yes,
he's an actor. From The Office, and currently he's playing Jack Ryan in a series.
Yes. And he's done some shows lately in Boston. Park the car.
Oh yeah, he might have been. Yeah, I remember that from the Super Bowl. He has started a thing on the internet last week. I think it was the first one that's called Some Good News, SGN, and he does this thing where he's got this paper behind him with this SGN logo that looks like it's been colored in by children, and he's been producing these videos that are just, hey, here's some good news for you to because we're all stuck at home and we're concerned, and
they're funny. Poignant.
It's not. It's more poignant than that. But he did his first one. He actually had a video call with his Office co-star Steve Carell. And
oh no shit!
They apparently hadn't actually seen each other or spoken in a couple of years because their careers have gone different ways. Right. And they had a good heart to heart and some reminiscing and stuff. And but then it's just good news from around the internet. Like on the first episode, I think the second one came out yesterday. I think it's weekly. And on the first episode, they talked about how there was this this teenager that had just been released from the cancer ward, who was totally bald and was being driven home, and her entire neighborhood came out to all park in their cars because you social distancing, and were honking and stuff and waving stuff as she was coming home and just welcoming her home. Just a lovely feel good story that we all need. But the most recent, the one that I saw today, and my wife came into my office earlier today and said, "Why are you crying?" And the second episode was like, the most boring part of it was that there was a cameo by Robert De Niro where they were like, "Let's check in with the weather with Bobby De Niro," and it was just him looking up at the sky and be like, "Meh, it's all right." Which was funny in its own right, but then they went on and they, because after the first one went, so it had such a viral success, they got a bunch of feedback of people saying, giving them good heartfelt stories, and one of them was this girl, I think in Florida, that for her 10th birthday or whatever, she was really looking forward to going to see the local production of Hamilton, the musical. And they said, and in the tweet, the mother said, so as a consolation, we watched the most recent Mary Poppins movie. And turns out the actress that plays Mary Poppins in the recent movie is John Krasinski's wife, Emily Blunt, and so anyway, they jumped on this tweet, and they had this video call with this little girl, and John was like, "I heard that's so bad. We've decided when this is all over, we're going to fly you to New York City to see Hamilton on Broadway." And the girl was like, "Yeah, that's amazing." And then he said, "However, since you've seen Mary Poppins, look, here's Mary Poppins." And his wife comes on and talks to her a little bit, and the girl's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And it just goes on from there, because then who jumps on the call is fucking Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh gosh.
And he's like, "Hey, I heard you like Hamilton. Why don't we sing you a song?" And then 20 other cast members join this video call, and they sing this song, the most famous song from the Hamilton musical, for this little girl. And it was just the most beautiful thing. Oh God! It was just moving in a way that,
and Krasinski pulled all this together.
He pulled all this together. I mean, once you get to that level of Hollywood fame, you've got your connections.
You've got your connections,
and you can pull shit together like that. But it was. I will. That will be in the show notes at happyhour.fm/055.
Well, I'll look at it,
and I will send it to you.
Bill Maher came back, and it was interesting because when I saw John Oliver, I did a big Google search to how to get a hold of him, because what I wanted him to do was I wanted him to put a panel of 3 or 4 buttons in front of him. And each of those buttons was a soundtrack of laughter that were categorized by, mild laughter, chuckling would be one button. Another one would be blah, blah, blah. Another one would be shrieking.
Are you about to tell me that Bill Maher actually did this? Your idea?
I was writing it, and I watched Bill Maher, and what Bill Maher does in his garden is he tells something funny, and he shows a clip of a 1950s audience,
right, going,
black and white, laughing. And then he unceremoniously just uses the laugh track during his monologue, which meant that the shtick that started it, which was humorous, showing the others, just ended up developing into just a stupid laugh track, as opposed to the idea which I think is much better. John Oliver, better than Bill Maher to do this, frankly, because Maher stands up and walks around and, he's so full of himself he couldn't sit down for a second. John Oliver, in his self-deprecating way, with his little tabletop, because he sits at a desk, he could push the button that he wanted out of the 4 different types of laugh tracks based on what he said.
Yes.
That would be funny. That would be funny. Nothing makes people laugh more than other people laughing. And if John Oliver was the one who decided what type of laughter that particular gig, that particular gag deserved, it has another layer of humor to it.
Right.
Could be self-deprecating, could be overbearing.
That's got some potential. And
how do we let them know about it?
I guarantee you they considered that. I guarantee that.
No.
And also,
because if they did, they would have done it. No.
Well, and also, I think John Oliver is so self-deprecating that the silence, I think, fits him better.
The silence is funny, and the silence is the fifth choice.
Right.
If there's 4 buttons of laughter, the fifth one is no button at all.
But then you're gonna write into the script where he accidentally presses it at the wrong moment, where he says something like, "The coronavirus deaths have reached this level," and then it's like, "Ha ha ha ha," and
then he whoops,
and then he's like, "Well, I'm sorry." Like, you have to play up the gag, I think, in that situation. Personally,
it's only a 30-minute show.
John Oliver's an hour, I think, but
no, it's not. It's 30 minutes.
Well, what ends up on YouTube is 30 minutes, I think.
No, the whole show is 30 minutes.
Okay. Personally, I can no longer stand sitcoms with a laugh track. The last big one, and I don't mean laugh track, I mean studio audience, because I learned they did some. There's a really interesting story about how the laugh track was developed in this one particular studio in Hollywood where they recorded the laughter of some people, and that particular laughter has been replayed in so many times.
I would get it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's a bit like the Wilhelm scream. You familiar with that?
What?
The Wilhelm scream.
There's Wilhelm scream.
Scream. Yes. There's a particular audio clip of a guy going ah that is used in so many movies.
As what? Somebody falling off a cliff?
As everything, yes. It's all over Star Wars. When somebody gets shot, it's just all over Hollywood. But there's this one particular scream that has become super famous. But anyway, I can no longer stand where I'm watching something on TV and I'm hearing a crowd laughing. Like, I get that was important from the previous generation of where you were used to going to a theater and seeing stuff happen on stage, and that's vaudeville. I mean, even after vaudeville, that energy from the crowd was important. But man, like the last I had to stop watching Big Bang Theory because Big Bang Theory was the last real sitcom that have. And it's not laugh tracks; it's a studio audience. But it's just like, really, somebody says something and
too much laughing. Shtick.
But that's the way TV used to be. But anyway, that's a side rant of mine.
So the Denzel Washington movie that you sent me,
yes,
which I haven't seen, I thought at first I had seen it because there is a Denzel Washington movie that I think we've talked about where he is working with a team of people who evidently have found a way to find a wrinkle in time, and he's able then to see on a screen what happened earlier and insert himself into the past, which is actually crazily the current of another dimension. That's Denzel White. That's what I thought you sent me, and it's not. And I can't wait to see Fallen.
You were referring to a movie called Déjà Vu, which I also love.
Yes. Yes.
What a clever fucking title, and like now I want to watch that again. Fallen, I have a pretty solid memory of, and it's the movie when I think of Fallen, the movie that's most mentally adjacent to that is the movie Seven. You
oh God!
One? Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So that's
I wouldn't imagine a movie that had more of an emotional jolt.
That's the level of mind fuckery that's going on.
Seven. Yes. That is a mind fuck.
Yes.
An absolute mind fuck.
And that level of
my God
of such a clever evil that the hero is fighting is
evil. And similar, I think, in some respects, but much more nuanced and imagined than Silence of the Lambs, but still a characterization of an evil person that is so evil that it absolutely blows your fucking mind, because not only is it frightening, horrific,
right,
but it's also believable that in the human race, such people exist.
Yes, exactly.
It's an existential, it's a tug on your existential belief that the depravity of the human spirit can reach dimensions that are unspeakable, to the pits of hell, to the tar of the deepest pits of hell. Are we able to imagine our fellow citizens to be able to live out? It's stunning.
It's
striking.
Wow, that was a brilliant sentence. Well done. The
whatever the fuck I just said.
Yes. The
maybe that's the subtitle for this one. Whatever the fuck I just said.
That's the subtitle for all of our episodes, Dennis. That's.
Won't you come and see me, darling? Won't you come and make my day? When you come and see me, darling, please just stay 6 feet away.
Hey, the song needs to include the fact that the singer needs glasses to see that far away, and so it's like, hey, darling, is that you, or is that your?
As you walk, you come in focus. And I know somehow it's you. Don't step within my line of vision. It could be the end of me and you. COVID-19 is upon us. Keep your distance if you please. Stay 6 feet away, my darling, so we can finally live at ease.
Well,
happy hour, my man.
Speaking of applause, I wanted to mention, I don't know if I mentioned this before, in Spain for the past 3 or 4 weeks, every single night at 8 p.m., everyone goes out on their balconies or opens their windows, and we all clap to applaud for the health and the first responder people. And then the police will go around with their sirens on, also sort of joining in the applause. And then every single night at 8 p.m. sharp. And then there are people that have better stereo systems than others that will belt out a sort of a playlist of positive. Yeah, let's defeat this. Let's win this battle. Sort of songs, and it's kind of moving to all be locked in your cage and have a time when you can all come out and clap and see everyone else around the entire town also out with their windows open clapping. It's a beautiful thing.
That's great.
So,
well, listen, bro, keep safe, hunkered down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see you next week, I hope. Love you, man. Be safe.
Now we hope. We'll see you next week at
happyhour.fm. Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Beat 'em.
Ba-dum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Okay, that does it for episode number 55 of happyhour.fm. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/055. You can help us make this wonderful podcast by going to patreon.com/happyhour. And please, everybody, stay indoors. Go out as little as possible. Don't be in contact with people. Stay 6 feet away, as Dennis sings. And we'll see you next week.